So hello from bizman.gr, I'm Yiannis Miliatsis. As you can see, I'm speaking English today. We have a very special guest here, and even though his name is Greek, Anthony Coundouris. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, Yiannis.
As he told me, he knows very little Greek. He used to speak Greek when he was a little boy, but now we're going to do this interview in English. How are you doing, Anthony?
Well, under the situation, the current circumstances, I'm okay, thank you very much.
All right. Now, Anthony has a decade of experience consulting into technology and software as a service startups. Brands include Salesforce, Google, SAP, and IBM. He specializes in designing automated sales and marketing systems. He has consulted SaaS vendors in the United Kingdom, Korea, Singapore, the Philippines, and Australia. Anthony has been a founder of 2 startups. Way to go, Anthony. His first business, Firestarted, consulted on Facebook and iPad app development in Southeast Asia. The firm was acquired by Novus Media in 2010. He then co-founded Future Books, an accounting firm servicing over 500 startups, and ranked as Xero's #1 reseller in Asia. When he's not working, Anthony enjoys racing sports bike and sailing boats. I really like the part that you put the part in about sports bikes, you know.
That's the most important part of the whole bio.
Exactly. I used to own a sports bike. I had the Suzuki GSR 600. What type of ride do you do?
Classic motorbike.
Yeah. What type of bike do you have now?
I have a Ducati 848 Evo.
Oh, I love Ducatis. Yeah. Well, after I got married and I had the kids, my wife said the only bike you're gonna get now is a low ride, little chopper bike that I have.
I knew
no more
you were
sports
gonna say
bikes
that.
for me. Exactly. So, Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Yiannis, for the last few years, I've been practicing building and designing sales systems for companies, small and large organizations across Asia Pacific. And what happened was when customers ask me to build sales systems, they don't often give me much time to show results.
Mm-hmm.
Typically you get 2 or 3 months to show an improvement in sales. So what I decided to do was put together a set of notes that I would give clients beforehand to read before we get started. And those notes became the basis of the book, which is how you and I got started.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, the book is run frictionless. I'm gonna put it up there for a minute, just so everybody would see the cover. Your book came in the exact time that I needed it, and it was an amazing book, and it sparked the communication between us and this interview, because I really like the idea of business trying to be frictionless. But what does frictionless mean for business?
Yeah, so to answer this, let's examine what is friction, right?
Exactly.
So friction is any obstacle which slows the customer's goal and equally slows the sale from occurring. Okay, and each of us have experienced friction when we personally have tried to buy somebody's goods or services. It's that feeling of frustration when you just give up and quit, and you no longer are interested in the goal that you set out to do. Rather than try and buy this product, you would rather just sit on the beach and drink a latte, or maybe a ouzo.
An ouzo would be better, I think.
Right. So today we know a lot about friction. Like for example, we know that it has a quotient, it has a number, we can calculate its size. The bigger friction, the worse it is for a company. And we also know it accumulates. We know that customers remember from one experience to the next, and thus friction accumulates until a customer drops off.
Yeah. So as friction accumulates, the possibilities of a customer dropping off increases.
Precisely. And so by reducing friction, the buying experience or the buying decision becomes effortless for the customer. You know, they experience this sense of confidence and well-being when they're going through the sales process. And for the flip side, the salespeople also find it much easier for the customer to buy the product.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So how can a founder be ever free from a sales role, trying to make his business frictionless?
Well, I think it is possible. But here's the mistake that I've observed time and time again that salespeople founders quite often try to do. That is, they try to replace themselves with another person. They look to recruitment as the answer. And here's what we found in our research, right? The people who are as good as you at selling, they are not, they're not looking for your job ad. They're doing their own startup. They're not working for you.
Exactly. All the good salespeople have already great jobs.
They're already being paid really well in enterprise businesses, or they're doing their own startup. They're not working for you.
Great.
So one of the first things that I think we have to do is get over this behavior of thinking that someone will magically come along and help you to scale and alleviate the pressure from you.
Yeah. So this is very interesting because I encounter exactly the same problem when training salespeople in a business. And the founder always tries to do exactly what you said, tries to find somebody to sell as good as he does. That doesn't happen, and that creates all the problems. So the system, at the end, as I read in the book, so you create a system, and the system becomes the heart of the startup. What are the benefits of relying on a system?
Well, I think, Yiannis, one of the most important parts of sales system is that it allows you to measure everything you do. There was a gentleman from Procter & Gamble. He's a strategic advisor, and he once said to me, "We don't do anything that we cannot measure." And so if you're trying to acquire someone without a sales system, without a sales system, you won't learn much, you know. You won't know why you lost the deal. You won't know why you won the deal. And then later, it becomes very difficult to go back and kind of pinpoint where is it that you are winning or losing in the process.
Yeah, that's really important, because if you can measure anything, you can improve anything. Is that right?
Yeah, and you might be able to improve it for a while in your own imagination. But imagine trying to allow your organization to help you improve the whole sales system. They're not able to help you improve if each person has a different system of selling the company's product. And so overall, what happens is when you make an improvement, those improvements are not felt by everybody in the organization because everybody's doing it differently.
So lately I've been dabbling around with doing a sales playbook for my company and for other companies, and this is something that's been around for a long while. What is the difference between building a sales playbook for a company and using a sales system?
Yeah, I decided to actually go and Google really what is the definition of a playbook. This is the definition I got. So the playbook is, it sets out objectives, metrics, and most importantly, it puts forward a common framework for selling the company's product. And that's really what the sales system does. But, Yiannis, it does just a little bit more. It does all of this, but it also helps you to gather intelligence. It provides the decision-making framework, and then it considers what the words and pictures will look like, you know, and also what the applications which will help serve those words and pictures. Now, I know later on we're going to get to it, but if we are on the subject of decision-making frameworks, the one that I like to use is the 4 Qs, and that's the one which I wrote and documented in the book Run Frictionless.
Yes, and I really like that one, and it was something I never heard about, of course, but we're going to talk about this in a little bit because as we talked about in our communication, you said it is such a big subject, we may have to have a follow-up interview for that one.
Thank you.
Okay, so what is in your book you say, if you try to acquire a customer without a sales system, you won't learn much. What do you mean by that? You won't learn much. You go about it, as we say here in Greece, by chance. You make a sale and you don't realize why did you make the sale. You lose a sale and you don't realize why did you lose a sale.
Yeah, precisely. So imagine that a sales system is like a blueprint, like a plan, right? And if everyone is selling using the same blueprint, it's easy to go back and pinpoint the friction points which prevented the customer from being created. So once you find the friction points, you can make an upgrade. You can talk about it. You can discuss it as a group because everybody understands and is using the same system. And that intelligence about where that friction point could come from many different people now in the business. You see, part of scaling a founder is when you are a founder, you have one mind, one brain. But can you imagine if you have a company of 5 people and all 5 people can gather and present intelligence to improve the sales system? That's now 5 minds which go to work, improving the business performance.
You increase your chances of making good decisions exponentially by, having a lot of people contribute to that system.
Yeah, precisely. And I think that, we often tell the story about what it feels like to be a founder in a company, and founders talk about their experiences. But, now having rolled this 4 Qs out to many organizations, I get to hear the stories about what it feels like to be an employee of a company, a startup. And one of the things that I've been told about using the 4 Qs was it gave people a greater sense of empowerment and contribution because they can now be part of the decision-making of the company.
So what exactly is the 4Q system? I know that we said it's a really big subject and we can't talk about it in depth here. And to tell you the truth, based on what you said right now, it comes to mind a management system I was watching closely for a long time called holocracy, where everybody is, everybody has his own sector which he makes decision about it, and the 4Qs system kind of sounds like that in some parts.
Yeah, I think that's rather accurate, Yiannis. The people who typically buy and read my book are founders and leaders of sales organizations. But recently, I've had CTOs and COOs reading the book, and they've been telling me that they're using it for innovation. They call it innovation excellence or operations excellence. And one COO said to me that he likes it because it gave them a common vocabulary across the business to make a decision more faster. And another CEO said to me that it creates a virtual team because it breaks down the functional silos between different departments so that people can behave more like a founder would, as opposed to being somebody who works in a department. But at the heart of it, the 4 Qs is a decision-making framework.
Right, and I really like the way that they are connected between and how each part really makes a difference in the other part of the sectors. So how important is it for a startup to clearly define the customers it wants to service? Because you state that in the book that it's really important, and I have to tell you, I agree totally, because there are some customers that you just don't want to service at that time. And if you say that to a business, it seems like ludicrous, you know?
Yes, it does, Yiannis. It sounds like, I mean, most startups are just ingratiated. They're so grateful. If just one person buys their product, right, they're so happy. And I think in the very early days, what you're trying to do is test many different customer profiles in order to find the right quadrant one fit for your business. The danger, though, in not isolating and understanding really clearly who you serve is you fall into this practice that I hear. In particular, I hear this phrase from a lot of technical founders, and they say, anybody can buy my product. Now, Yiannis, I challenge you. I don't know anybody called anyone. I don't know this person. I know there's Tom, there's Dick, you know, there's Sally. Is there such a person called anyone?
I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe somewhere in Asia.
Well, I haven't met them, and what I know is that unless you can convince Sally to buy your product, Sally won't buy. And what's interesting is Sally doesn't care that this product can be bought by anybody. Sally only cares about herself. So the two are mutually exclusive, and when people confuse the fact that anybody can buy my product with Sally, well, the two are not the same. Sally will only buy if Sally is convinced.
Exactly. And I really like the part when you say servicing a customer profile that will never reach customer success is foolish. Do founders relate to that, especially in the beginning? As we said, they don't, actually.
Yeah, Yiannis, they don't. But when it comes to paying sales commissions, that's when they begin listening. So I'll tell you a little story about a project which I did for a software as a service company late last year. I built a sales system for them. And one of the first questions that I asked their team was, who is your customer? And lo and behold, it's anyone. It's that fella is back again, the anyone person. I'm like, oh, okay.
Anyone that can buy is my customer, right?
Right. And well, to be fair to them, actually what they said is that it's any enterprise organization. And what was interesting about that statement is when I went and talked to the customer success team and started listening to them about who was successful, which customers are actually using this product successfully for, say, 30 to 60 days. And lo and behold, what we discovered is that the manufacturing companies that this business was acquiring cannot use this payroll software. And what we found was because there were certain kinds of computations that these manufacturing companies need, that this product never anticipated, the product development team never anticipated they would need it. So what was happening was we were paying sales commissions on customers that we were never going to get, customers who would then write negative reviews, and then customers who spent, we lost opportunity because we were tied up giving refunds and trying to serve a customer who should have never have been in the business. They were an absolute liability.
And the funny thing is when doing that is that you're thinking that you're doing okay when you're acting like that. And I've had companies that I was training, that I'm training in sales, that we do through the exact same process. That's why I really like that part of your book, because it's been demonized to leave some clients behind. And this to me is really wrong for all the reasons that you have just stated. And those companies feel that they are doing okay while providing service for a client that basically it's only going to do them bad, not good.
Yeah, and one fellow said to me, this one gentleman who read my book, this really interesting entrepreneur in Australia, Timo, he said to me, you know, like sales is often about saying no, you know, as much as we say yes, you know, during sales. But the problem is quite often we don't know when to say no. You know, like a founder will, on the fly, suppress certain kinds of customer profiles that they won't serve, and then consciously or unconsciously serve other ones. So we never really know which ones to say no to and which ones to say yes to unless you sit down and definitively write customer profiles.
So, in my opinion, and I know you agree with that because I read the book, people do that because they have profit above all. Okay?
Right.
And you say in your book, profit should be a byproduct, not a belief. And I found that really interesting. What are shared beliefs? Why are shared beliefs important to startup, for a startup to scale faster?
Well, Yiannis, in my opinion, I think that the very first thing that a startup should do, or the founder should do, is reach a quadrant 1, quadrant 3 fit. Of course, the people listening to this now, once they sort of learn a bit more about the 4 Qs, they'll understand what that means. But essentially, if we go into what the shared belief is, let's look at a really recent example of this, okay? So did you see the launch of the Cybertruck by Tesla? Did you see the demo, the product demo?
With a broken window, yeah.
Right. So what was very interesting about that was the following day, the automotive journalists really annihilated Tesla and said this is an example of a poorly built product by one of these kind of tech startups. And they anticipated that the Cybertruck would be a flop. And that, in a sense, is technically true because customers do buy from quadrant 2, right? They buy products and services based on features. But what happened was at the end of business that day, Tesla posted a press release. They received over 100,000 orders of the Cybertruck.
That was really interesting, and I read about that. And I also found the idea of making the truck completely different, and that's why the rest of the industry hammered them, because it was completely different for everybody, for something anybody had seen up until then. And yeah, I saw that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you see, these customers, right, what the automotive journalists didn't understand is that the people who want to buy Tesla, they're loyal to Tesla because they share a belief with Tesla. They feel like Tesla understands them. As a founder, you will know if you've reached a shared belief with your customers and your staff when customers say something like, oh my goodness, I've been telling people this for years. Finally, somebody listened to me and built this product. And you see, when you have that kind of loyalty, people will forgive you if you have a bad product day, because every manufacturer has a bad product day, right, Yiannis?
Exactly. And I think the first company that really based its business on that and shared beliefs should be Google, should be Apple, isn't it?
I think that they are a very good example. In fact, one of the reasons why Steve Jobs and Wozniak split in the very beginning was over beliefs, because Wozniak believed that Apple should serve nerds. He said, I want to serve people who want to hack the kernel, break open the computer. And Steve said, oh my God, no, we're not. We are serving the computer illiterate. These people believe that the computer should be switched on and used, and you can print a document within a minute. And it's really interesting that during the foundation of the company, we saw a very early split between these founders over beliefs.
Right. So, when working with a startup, how easy or hard it is to implement changes in the current situation that the startup is? And I put this question in because I found it exceedingly hard sometimes to change operation in a business that I'm coaching, and not just in the sales department, because I do sales training and I don't do exactly what you do. But anytime that I go beyond the sales department and I start putting systems in other places like marketing or management or something like that, I found it increasingly hard to get by, the difficulty of changing your situation. How do you cope with that?
I understand. And I think there's been two groups who have contacted me. So putting myself in your shoes for a moment, Yiannis, there are sort of two parts, two people who contact me. One might be the founder, and the other one is the leader of a sales organization in a small company or a big company, or the COO of a startup contacts me because they believe that the company operationally is not working well enough. And what I try to get them to do first is I will give them like an overview session of how to use the 4 Qs, because the 4 Qs only takes an hour or two to teach people, you know, through a one-to-one presentation. And in fact, the rollout of the 4 Qs, I've rolled it out to a 2-person company and a 130-person company, and it only takes a week or two to roll it out. But what's interesting is it's about the use of the vocabulary. So what I get them to do is I just get them to start thinking along the concepts of the 4 Qs to begin with for the first week or two, get them using the words, and then slowly as they begin using the similar terminology to explain and express the kinds of friction that they're having in the business, that's when they begin using it more and more and more.
I understand. So it's a matter of slowly and gradually taking them into the system and not forcing it upon them.
Yeah, I think that like even with large organizations, I like to roll it out to the 10 most influential people, the executive team and perhaps some line managers, and then let them go back to their functional groups and begin using the vocabulary that you and I know, the concepts of friction. And because the book was written, Rebecca Freeman, who was the editor, and I, when we wrote the book, we wanted it to be digestible by various people in the organization so that they can use the same words, but use the words without having any complication around the meaning, so every person understands exactly what those words actually mean.
It's all about getting clear on what we say, how we say it, and what words do we use, and words, as you stated, are really, really important in an organization, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, we don't call sales collateral, we just call it words and pictures, you know, because when you use words like collateral, websites, they mean so many different things to different people. But if you just use the words like words and pictures to describe the materials that you put out to customers, it's just so much easier for people who are not from a marketing and sales background to grab hold of that concept.
Speaking of words, you have a part that I really liked in the book that says, Tom's biggest mistake was having no sequence of how to create a customer. He made up the experience as he went along. You know, this phrase really resonated with me because in every training I do for a company, I really emphasize that having a proper automation and ready-made processes for the interaction with the clients make the whole business run, you know, frictionless. How hard is it for a business to have a well-designed customer flow? I think it's one of the most important things in a business.
Yeah, Yiannis, I think that your advice to them is accurate because, you know, when you're under fire and you've got a lot of leads that you're dealing with, the last thing you want to be doing is designing. You're not in the mindset to be designing customer experiences. You're in execution phase now. And trying to execute and design simultaneously will only produce a very slow and sloppy result, which is why you tell your customers not to do this. How to roll it out is very simple. What you want to do is, in our research, we found that if you're serving, say, small business owners, you are supporting, say, between 10 to 15 unique customer experiences. And if you're serving enterprise customers, you're supporting anywhere from between 25 to 50 interactions. What you want to do is map all these interactions out. And then what you want to begin doing is explaining to the sales team what is the objective of each of those experiences. What do you hope to get? What do they have to get out of that interaction before they can go to the next interaction? Okay, and what are, say, the 3 most important interactions of all, say, the 15 interactions that you've got? What are the 3 most important ones that if you mess them up, that you're very likely to experience drop-off?
I really like that, and especially in sales, it's really hard to for salespeople to realize that every interaction with a customer needs to have a purpose and needs to have somewhere to go, and not just be a meaningless interaction, because that way you get frustrated, the sale doesn't move forward, and you have to close in, you know, close in. You have to close the next interaction and the next thing you need to do to move forward, to move the sale forward. And people, you know, once they grab a hold of that idea, they use it, but in the beginning they don't. So another thing I want to ask you is, how can a company can start removing friction from its processes, and of course where they can find you to do that?
Well, perhaps the best way to begin is very much the same way you did, which is grab hold of the book. If they visit runfrictionless.com and just follow the links to Amazon.
I'm going to put the book up now.
Thank you. And that way they can begin to form their own opinion about the 4 Qs. I think once they've understood the 4 Qs, it's really up to them to decide whether or not they want to roll it out to their organization. A lot of people don't believe in frameworks, you know, like, you know, I've spoken to some developers, and many developers tell me frameworks are really important to success, you know, hence WordPress, right, as a framework. But that's not necessarily the case in business. Not every business person believes that a framework is essential. But if you're somebody who believes in frameworks and is looking for one, I have not found another framework like the 4 Qs that's that effective. And that's why I use it.
I really like the model too. That's why I arranged for us to talk to today, and I think it's really important for people to read the book and visit your page. I'm going to put the link for the web page and the book just down below in this video. And if you're looking at YouTube in this video, just subscribe to our channel and like the video. Anthony, how are things with coronavirus there in Thailand where you are now? Let's keep the subject of sales for a moment.
Well, Yiannis, we have had cases in the thousands, but we believe that the government is taking all the measures necessary, just like they are in Greece, to make sure that the spread is stopped. And that's what we're hoping to see in the next couple of days.
Yeah, actually here in Greece, things are going better than I anticipated, because the government acted early, and that has tremendous effect on the results they are having, and that's really good. As long as people stay inside, I'm in my home for the past 15 days, and don't go out unnecessary, and be safe. Okay, Anthony, thank you very much for your time. It was been a real pleasure. I hope we get together another time to speak on the 4 Qs more extensively. And
thank you very much, Yiannis, for having me on the show.
Thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Yiannis. Have a good day ahead.
Bye-bye.